Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is the newest film by every film bro's favorite director, Quentin Tarantino, and follows a TV actor in the final days of the golden age of Hollywood named Rick Dalton, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, who is struggling to find good roles in Hollywood and is worried that he's a fading star and his career will soon be over. The film also follows his stunt double, Cliff Booth, played by Brad Pitt, who is also trying to find roles to get, since he's also worried that his career as a stuntman will come to an end soon. And together, both of them embark on a journey through 1969 Hollywood to achieve fame and keep their careers alive. Out of all the films I wanted to see in 2019, this was easily my most anticipated movie of the year. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite filmmakers, and I've loved just about every movie he has done, with Jackie Brown being the only one I don't love. Even then, I still think it's a solid movie. I'm such a pretentious Tarantino fan that I even have a poster for his masterpiece Pulp Fiction in my room. I was eagerly anticipating this film, and it absolutely did not disappoint. Easily the best thing about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood are the performances, especially from Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt. DiCaprio gives one of, if not the best performance of his career in this movie as Rick Dalton, and does an impeccable job of mixing the realization Dalton has of having an almost fading career, while also being really funny in the role as well. I also must give DiCaprio major props for doing an excellent job during the scenes where Rick Dalton is acting in a movie or TV show, since that's a task I don't think most actors could pull off, but he did it perfectly. Brad Pitt gives, in my opinion, the best performance of his career as Cliff Booth. His character is the epitome of cool, and is honestly one of the best characters in any Quentin Tarantino film ever. Pitt brings a lot of great humor to the movie, and his story is just as compelling, if not more compelling, than Rick Dalton's. There are too many great scenes with him that I want to talk about, but I don't want to spoil them, even though I feel like most people have seen this movie by the time this review is published. The chemistry between DiCaprio and Pitt is also a ton of fun to watch, and both of them play off each other perfectly. There are a few scenes where Cliff and Rick watch an episode of a TV show they worked on, where you're watching the screen while they provide commentary over it. That reminds me of when you watch a movie with a friend and are talking about it while watching it. I don't think those scenes would have been as fun and relatable as they were without Leonardo DiCaprio's and Brad Pitt's incredible chemistry. Actually, I don't think this movie would have worked as well as it did without those two stars elevating it. Margot Robbie is also very good as Sharon Tate and captures the lively and fun-loving spirit of her real-life counterpart, while also managing to have an uncanny resemblance to her. Seriously, Margot Robbie looks like Sharon Tate reincarnated. Other actors like Al Pacino, Kurt Russell, Timothy Olyphant, Bruce Dern, and Dakota Fanning are good in their performances, although I do feel like they could have been featured a little more in the film. I also really admire the way this film tells its story. There are many scenes in the movie where it's nothing but characters just sitting around and talking, and it feels like there's not really much of a narrative at times, but it's a very laid-back hangout movie, surprisingly so. Tarantino's film Jackie Brown had many scenes like that, where characters would hang out and have conversations, but I think this film does it much better. This is easily Tarantino's most different film to date, which you could say the same for all of his movies. His movies usually don't follow the conventions of most movies today, or any films in the decades they were released in, which is one of the reasons why he's one of my favorite filmmakers. However, this film is unique in its filmography, mostly due to the fact that it doesn't have his trademark style of grotesquely cartoony violence, for the most part, the liberal use of racial slurs, stories of crime and revenge, but it does contain shots of feet and many references to pop culture. It's a very restrained Tarantino movie, and instead feels like a cool and composed film, where you get to hang out with these characters, so much so they feel like you're friends by the end of it. It reminds me a lot of a movie like Dazed and Confused, where there's not much of a narrative, and it's just characters talking about whatever is on their mind, and features a killer soundtrack that captures the zeitgeist of the mid-1970s. An even better comparison would be a movie that Tarantino states in interviews is the ultimate hangout movie, which is the Howard Hawks western Rio Bravo. I feel like that's what he was trying to go for with this film. This is essentially Tarantino's version of Rio Bravo, minus it being set in the West. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is also an incredibly hilarious movie and is easily Tarantino's most humorous film to date. This film relies heavily on comedy. There are many extremely weird and funny scenes that have great payoffs to them. There are many scenes in the film that I won't spoil that were so hilarious because of the build-up to the payoffs they get that wouldn't have worked if they were just throwaway jokes, but Tarantino is so committed to the payoff of them that it was almost jaw-dropping. The directing by Tarantino is also impeccable, and he captures the aesthetic and vibe of 1969 Los Angeles perfectly. The various sets like downtown LA, the movie sets, and Spawn's movie ranch all look incredible. I love Tarantino's dedication and passion to capture the golden age of Hollywood during its dying days. The cinematography is magnificent, and this might just be Tarantino's best shot movie to date. I also have to give kudos to the amazing soundtrack, which consists of a lot of 60s music, and Tarantino uses each song wisely to add to the mood and feel of each scene. The third act of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is also outstanding. Without getting into spoilers, even though I feel like most who know history would know how it goes, the third act is one of the best things about any Tarantino movie ever, and is worth the price of admission alone. Overall, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, in my opinion, is another masterpiece from Quentin Tarantino. Even though this is stylistically his most different film to date, it still manages to be an incredibly engaging, funny, and entertaining love letter to 1960s Hollywood, and is one of his best films to date, which isn't saying much considering I love just about every film he's done. If I have to rank this film in his filmography, I'd say it's my fifth favorite film of his, behind Pulp Fiction, Reservoir Dogs, and Glorious Bastards, and Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2. This is also my favorite film of 2019 so far, and I have a feeling it won't be topped. It's weird that my favorite film of 2019, 2018, and 2017 have one thing in common, and that's they all came out in July, and there's a good chance that the streak might be continued next year, with Christopher Nolan's new film Tenet coming out. I'm eagerly awaiting Tarantino's next film, but also sad at the same time, since it'll be his final film that he does as a director. Whether it be a Star Trek film, Kill Bill Volume 3, or an original idea, I hope it's a satisfying conclusion to his long and legendary career. I highly recommend this film and implore you see it, since I think it's important that original films make money, so the big studios learn that we want something different and fresh from all the big budget superhero films and the onslaught of terrible Disney remakes. That won't happen though, and it makes me sad and disappointed. I am giving Once Upon a Time in Hollywood an A+.